So Jesus is asking us today, are you going to leave me too? Hard questions. Hard question from me. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, we really have to ask ourselves that question. Am I going to follow you when things are hard? When things don't go my way? Am I going to follow you when I'm just struggling to even know that you're even there? That you're even walking with me in the middle of this? Or am I just going to come to you when things are good? And this is where we go. So today, I'm actually doing this in two parts. I'm going to come back at the end and share the rest of the story. But I want to give you the opportunity. And this is a very basic question, because I know where I had to go this week. I had to ask myself the question, where's my relationship with God? Really? Am I just floating off of whispers? Or is there a deep intimacy in my life with Him? And maybe it's that you don't even know Him. Maybe it's just something that you grew up with, like your parents, and you just accept that I've always been this way. All right? I'm a Christian because I grew up in a Christian family. I don't know what that is with you. But I know that I have to keep going back and asking myself the question, where are we really, God? Really? What's really going on? Do I have that desire for you? Or am I just kind of floating with the crowd? Am I spending time with you? Or am I just going based on what I've known and what I've heard and getting caught up in all of the hype? But does my life really reflect that closeness and that intimacy that you talk about? So, today, one simple question. Where are you with God? I had to go there this week. I think we all need to go there today. Go back and reflect on the things that He has done, but ask yourself the question, God, where am I really with you? Okay? 1, 2, 3, go. Hey guys, I want to finish this thing up. I moved.
Trying to break our neck.
Yeah, I know. Hey guys, let me get your attention. All right, so I told you this thing is in two parts. I want to read you something that's real, something that came out of a newspaper, something that really shows the responses that we have the option of giving. All right? So we come down to that question Jesus is asking us, are you going to leave me also? I don't know if you've ever heard the story of the footprints in the sand. Okay. In case you haven't heard it, I want to read that to you. Then I want to read the response. Say, one night you had a dream. You dreamed you were walking along the beach with me. Across the sky flashed scenes from your life. From each scene you noticed two sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to you and the other belonging to me. When the last scene of your life flashed before you, you looked back at the footprints in the sand. You noticed that many times along the path of your life, there had been only one set of footprints. You also noticed that it happened at the very lowest and saddest times in your life. This bothered you, and you questioned me about it. Lord, you said, You said that once I decided to follow you, you would walk with me all the way. But I've noticed that during the most troublesome times in my life, there's only one set of footprints. I don't understand why when I needed you most you would leave me. I replied, my precious, precious child, I love you, and I would never leave you. During your times of trial and suffering, when you only see one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. Talking about options, this is the other option. In response to the footprints from a real person. Sorry to break this to you, Jesus, but those are obviously my footprints. Look closely. See how those footprints that have the wavy tread pattern on the bottom, just like my dock sliders? If they were yours, they'd have a sandal mark, like the footprints next to mine, a little farther up the beach, when I was going through better times. See the footprints at the time of my divorce? You'll notice that the sandal footprints drift off from the docksider ones. They lead to that picnic bench over there. It appears that in my darkest hour, instead of carrying me, you sat on a stump. Real helpful, Jesus. Real helpful. Sure, the sandal prints came back when I got that big job promotion. But right at the time when my son Tommy died, they veer off again. Actually, now that I look at it again, it seems as if there were unusually large distances between each of the sandal wearers' footprints around the time of my son's death, as if the person were actually running away. I'm sorry, Jesus, but your whole story doesn't carry me during my worst moments, and it just doesn't jive with what I believe. Because you'd certainly think that a person would remember being carried by the Son of God. That's a pretty memorable thing, wouldn't you think? Well, either I've got amnesia or you're a liar. Because I don't recall ever being toted around by the Messiah. The only thing I remember about my worst moments on the path of life is that horrible feeling of plodding along in the cold sand, all alone, with icy rain that fell in sheets and chill surrounded me. So thanks, Jesus. Thanks a bunch. You were really there for me when times got tough. And those are the choices. In response to Jesus, at the time when he said, "Are you going to leave me also?" he goes back to the 12 disciples, and Peter immediately responds. I love Peter, because he just shoots his mouth off. Very, very similar to the way I am, so much of the time. But Peter responds to Jesus, and he says, where else are we going to go? You are the one who speaks the words of life. You are the Holy One sent from God. Where else am I going to go? When I'm confronted with those times when I feel all alone, when I come to that place where I have to ask, and Jesus is asking me, are you going to leave me also? What's your response? Where are you going to go? Where else would I go? You're the one that gives the life. What am I going to do? I'm going to go back to the stuff that I came out of? What have I got to go back to? Do I really want to go back to that? There was no life, there was death, there were relationships that were destroyed. Why would I want to go back? And yet I'm confronted with that by my choices every day. One final thing. You heard me tell Will the question that I had, is this all there is? And as we worked through that on Thursday, we started talking about all the things that God had done. And we went back through last Saturday, and the guy accepts Christ, and Sunday, and all the people coming up and getting a chance to pray with them. And Monday night, somebody else accepting Christ. And we started the process of remembering all that he had done. And it took me back to John the Baptist. When he was sitting in prison, when he felt like he was all alone, he sent his disciples to Jesus and he says, "Are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else?" And Jesus sent his messengers back and he said, "Go back and report to John what you have seen. The blind receive sight, the lame walk. Those who have leprosy are cured, the deaf hear, and the dead are raised, and the good news, it's preached to the poor. Blessed is the man who does not fall away on account of me." And I needed to go back in order to refocus my relationship and say, "God, where else am I going to go? You're the only one that gives me life. And you're going to be confronted with that. If you haven't already, you will be soon. And you have that choice. You can choose either one of the footprints. I can look at God and God says, "I was carrying you," or I can say, "Jesus, you weren't there for me when I really needed you." It's your choice. Are you going to leave me also? Where would I go?